My works have always been personal. My life experiences inform my works and make up the narrative framework of the pieces that I do. For the past 7 years, I've noticed that my fondness in things that put order in my surroundings have found its way into my visual language. Maybe because I am at this stage and age in my life where I realized that my time and space is not exclusively my own, and because of this, balancing each day has become more and more challenging. Art making has been both a refuge and a form of catharsis for me in trying to seek a mental balance while being a mother, a wife, a daughter, and being my own person at the same time. The works I have now is still a continuation of this concern with order and management of the everyday, time and space, both mental and physical. In my past works and shows, I've utilized objects, images, and subjects that tackle this concern, such as the china cabinet I used for the piece Please Handle With Care that I stored precious and fragile memories of my son, cast filing cabinets, and shredding machine in the piece Balance Is Never Straight, which are meant to visualize the process of discarding and compartmentalizing. Bondi clock as a way to track and quantify time and signify one's presence and absence in solving puzzles in the work it takes effort to keep things together. Envelopes that serve as a repository of memories and holders of mundane articles in the assemblage priority mail. Card catalogs that give structure and objective distance to one's thoughts in the installation piece, Space in Between Thoughts. This compulsion to give structure and organization continues to endure in this present collection of pieces. For this show, entitled Contain, I used and expound on the idea of jars, not only as a container, but also as a personal symbol for work and/or art making. The jars I used for the show are the same jars I use to store paint when I work on a print or a painting, or when I used to teach art to kids. The subject is not only about a container, but about work. How the jar contains the space, not only of its own, but of the canvas, the gallery space. How a jar can visually simplify the complexities of the surroundings. How a jar can represent one's mind and its attempt to compartmentalize thought. How a jar can be a means to give structure and contain time. The show is comprised of wall-bound pieces and an installation of objects. Two half rests is a diptych mixed media painting and assemblage of ready-made jars. A rest in music means those parts where no notes are being played, hence silence. And two half rests is equivalent to a whole rest. For this work, I'm making a comparison between the diptych and the two half rests in music because the diptych represents my peace of mind, which I liken to those pauses of silence in music. Off-grid, grid-off is a series of square paintings where I intentionally use collage materials that usually fill up space to contain thoughts, images, records, and in themselves are fillers that occupy space just like the jars. Examples: scratch papers, pad papers, worksheets, pages from school record books, images of concrete floors as ground to fill up, and images of pages of an old photo album to be filled up with memories. When I was doing the first layer of this series, I was working on an open composition, very organic, where I printed images of the jars to fill up the space. Then I used the negative shapes of the jars in a grid format to organize and give structure to the composition, sort of compartmentalizing the space, like space containing space. Then as the series developed, these grids started to overlap and open up, which loosened the composition, seemingly leading me back to where I started. Mind-filled, a site-specific wall print installation of a mountain of jars using the serigraphy process. The work is a verbal pun of the word minefield, which is defined as an area or situation of unforeseen hazards. The mind, if uncontrolled, which is shown by the precarious way the bottles are printed one on top of the other, can be similarly dangerous as a minefield. Assembly line. A 40-foot installation of a shelf that runs along the longest wall of the gallery, containing an assortment of jars that I used for work. It has twofold significance, because it stands as both the subject and material at the same time. The piece compares to an assembly line in that it mimics the role and significance of a unit in producing a work. Observing these jars, it does not only organize my material surroundings, but it also helps organize the non-physical nature of my mind. By doing so, I am able to enter a state of mind of peaceful, blissful consciousness, and it is in this silence that we hear and understand the most.